Good evening, everyone.
Good
Calling
evening.
the meeting to order for Shopc on March the 7th at 7:33 p.m. First item on our agenda are the minutes from February 27th. I apologize, I did not get them done. So we will have to move those to the next meeting. And I apologize for that, but I've been very busy and I didn't get an opportunity, so. Next item on the agenda, MBATA Communities. Jesse, could you just update us? I know you guys made some decisions the other day.
Sure. So at the advisory board meeting, Andrew Pfaff had basically put forth the concept that the consultant was in error in terms of the compliance model regarding the minimum number of units in area 1, which is the area within 1/2 mile of the MBTA station. We would need to have, according to Andrew Pfaff, 150 units within the 10 acres, or it basically a minimum of 10 acres and a minimum of 150 units zoning for. So the consultant said, no, you have your 10 acres, you're fine. We went back and forth with the consultant, who then, went check with their contacts at the state, and indeed there was a mistake. And we do need to have a minimum zoning allowance for 150 additional units within 1/2 mile of the T station. So that would require, in order to move that forward, changing the underlying zoning within that district, and or some combination of that and an expansion of the area. In other words, just more streets, more neighborhoods within that 1/2 mile impacted. So we found that out on Monday and voted shortly after about 1/2 hour or so discussion to withdraw the article from the town meeting warrant. We're not, I should say, I am not necessarily just giving up. It's such a major shift and a major issue that the consensus on the board, which I do agree with, is bringing this to town meeting now could be, really very, it could have a bad impact on our efforts. So we felt like withdrawing this and giving the board time to come up with a solution and really understand what it is we're dealing with. I mean, my problem with this is if this was, such a blindside and such a huge mistake on the part of Bowler, what else is in here that I don't understand? That was what I was trying to convey on Monday night. So we need a little bit more time to figure out what we're going to do next with MBTA communities.
Okay, so there will be no warrant. So this would probably end up going to a fall town meeting. If you're
that's a fair prediction, I think.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts on that, John?
Jesse, when does the state need to approve our plan, or does our plan need to be in place to be compliant?
Before the end of the year.
December 31st. Okay. So it would have to go to town meeting in the fall. We wouldn't have a choice because the town's going to have to vote it up.
There's always a choice.
Well, we still have to.
I mean, I'll share my position on this, which is it's much better to try to be in compliance and control, put in the controls and the mitigation that we can, rather than have the courts and the state house decide what we do with our zoning. but there's always a choice, and there's plenty of people in town. I can think of one advisory board member who just is, ready to storm the Capitol. So, paraphrasing, of course.
Yes, I understand. Cheating. Okay, good question, John. And Doug, Paul, anything else to add to that?
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Paul. Go first.
Yeah, Paul.
Thanks, Doug. I just have like some feedback on the whole plan. First of all, the plan was difficult to follow. I mean, if you're going to present a town meeting, to me, the first couple of slides should be, where are these areas going to be? I mean, if you want to find out, well, where are the areas that we're talking about, it's not easy. I mean, it is in there somewhere on that website, but you got to dig. So
Well, Marnie Houlihan, sorry to interrupt, Paul. I just want to point out, Marnie did a really good presentation. The PowerPoint presentation is great, which I can share with you if you really want to see it.
All right, yeah, well, maybe
that's much clearer than what the consultant did the other night.
Yeah, that consultant, well, I won't even get into that, but but I guess what I was expecting was that, and I understand there was a public hearing and it's been continued once or twice. But, my expectation was we get a presentation at the beginning that explains the whole thing, and then you get public comment on it. And, that just didn't really happen. So yeah, I could use that presentation. I'm sure lots of people in town could. I mean, I would put it front and center on the planning board page on the website or something like that. But then the other thing is, from a Shopc perspective, like, I don't know, I'm a lot wary of some of these locations that you picked, like especially the one that's on the Marlboro line. And there was the meeting, not this most recent one, but the one before that, where some gentleman got up and, he was a builder, I guess, and has some experience in that area. And he says, there's no way that Marlboro is gonna let you build, or gonna want anything built there. And it's just a non-starter. And to me, that, as I said at that public meeting, I mean, I think we really have to embrace the spirit of this law, try as best we can to comply, and come up with the areas that are feasible for housing. And the other one, the one I'm still confused about, Madison Place, because it was unclear to me whether they're talking about like the apartments that are already there counting towards our quota or not, or they'd have to be added to. It was unclear whether that's the case or if they're talking about different property, different footprint on the same general area, brand new buildings. So that's my feedback. But the overall thing is I think we really need to try to embrace the spirit of the law. And I'm concerned that we're not doing that currently. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll chime in. I agree honestly with Jesse, with you and Paul too as well. And Jesse, if you could share that presentation, that would be awesome. I haven't seen that yet. I was on the call for most of it on Monday, and clearly definitely disappointing for you guys to get that far down the road and for the discrepancy with the number of units versus the acreage not to have been discovered sooner. So I do think we should be trying to comply with this law. We don't want to be Milton, to be honest, right? So Milton they just voted it down. And to be honest, it's elitist at best, and at worst, it's probably words that we don't want to describe. But you guys have actually a steep hill to climb, with just trying to find the right locations. But but definitely agree that it's good that you guys pulled it, because the confusion does not help, right? It's just better to go to town meeting later when, all the ducks are in a row, but I'd love to see the presentation. So.
Jesse, would you mind sending that out to everyone on the board?
Will do.
Okay, that would be great. Tom's not here tonight, so I'm sure he might have an opinion on that as well, but we can talk to him at the next meeting about it. Okay, so everybody's good on this, on the MBTA update and what's transpired. There's no warrant article. So planning board, you have your work cut out for you.
Actually, another question. So I think we should have a role in this, like as input, I guess. I mean, not a formal role in coming up with a plan, but so I don't know what the plan is for that. I mean, I guess I would just recommend that we do regular meetings in advance of whatever the planning board is going to be doing, just so that they understand, where we're coming from. And I don't know if everyone here agrees with me, but I think it would be great if they came up with a plan that Shopc could get behind.
I would recommend attending the public hearings. There's a public hearing on Monday, and then there's another one a week from Monday.
So it's March
Those are
11th.
scheduled. Yes,
and March
and the 18th.
18th. So I will post a meeting to cover us in case we have a quorum. To attend the
Yes.
public.
Monday at 7. Monday a little after 7 o'clock.
Okay, and do you know, both Mondays, a little after 7? I'll just say 7 p.m. Okay, planning board, public meetings. Okay, that way we're covered if we have a quorum. I definitely want to support the planning board. They have their work cut out for them, but
Yeah, Paul, I mean, I'll certainly be
do
mentioning
expect
it.
to support you. Yeah, I mean, it's not in our realm, except to support you guys. So, I mean, if there's something we can do, please let us know.
Yeah, the thing to do, Paul, clearly you have your perspective on this, and sharing it at the planning board public hearing would be helpful.
Okay. Actually, one more question. So there was the area near the train station, I asked about Fitzgerald's, and that is not included in it because it's, I guess, considered a historic building. Is that right? Which.
Yeah, there's a lot of historic stuff, and there's a park that's protected. This is very challenging.
I don't envy you, Jess.
That stuff is extreme. There's a lot of protected areas within the half mile.
So anything that's deemed historic or designated historic is off limits. Is that right?
And the park.
In the park, but the park was included, right?
The park, well, we can include areas to make the total part of the district contiguous. See, it has to be contiguous. So if we have 2 eligible lots that are separated by an ineligible lot, you add the ineligible lot to make it contiguous.
Okay.
So you would have to increase your acreage? Because
You got it.
have to exclude that really, but add it.
I don't see any other way. That, and as I said, and or changing the underlying zoning. I mean, so now we're talking about not only passing MBTA communities, but passing a fundamental zoning change to that area.
And you have to have it within a half a mile of the train station. It's not a choice. That's a mandate by the law.
That's the law.
So even though a half mile south or anything south is Hopkinton, they don't cut us any.
Yes, that was raised. Good question, Mr. Wood.
I know that just drives me crazy. We've got to half mile to the south. Hey, half a foot to the south is Hopkinton. Then I don't know, a pond and a wetlands, a historic zone, and a park. I just wish they'd just be a little more reasonable.
But John, but that was factored in. So in communities where it's a 360-degree radius, it's a much larger zoning requirement, and more units and more everything. So we got off light because, and I'm saying that on a relative basis, of the fact that the southern half of the half mile is a different town.
I thought it was 10 acres, 150 units, no matter what.
No, it's based on a percentage, and it's based on the available area around the station.
And do we know, is that the final word on that? Or is, if we come up with a plan and just show.
That's a good question too. I don't know what the final word is. This whole thing is kind of a mess. And I guess the answer would be, Paul, I doubt it. I think that there's a lot of fluidity to this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to believe if you make a good faith effort to comply, and then just show them the map, like John said. I mean, it's all Hopkinton on the other side there, so there's not much you can do. I don't know.
Well, this is what's really made, I'm not going to argue against MBTA communities, but I will say that they haven't made it super fair and easy. And they haven't really done us any, they haven't looked at things like infrastructure or feasibility at all.
No.
Zero. And they haven't been clear, and they've come out with one blanket set of rules for every, I mean, we have the same requirements, not literally, but in effect, similar requirements to communities like Milton or Brookline. So it's I don't think it's a one size fit all. You know, this is the part of the problem when the state mandates zoning. You're going to have these challenges.
They weren't ready to go public with this law is what happened. They rushed it through. They didn't think it through. They didn't plan it well. And they're just making these outrageous demands on all these communities, and they're asking you and telling you have to change the character of your town. And correct, we don't have the infrastructure to support what they want to do here, but they don't care. And there's towns smaller than us that are in worse shape than we are. But, you know, look at Milton, they're, you know, the state's going to go after them. They're going to have a lot of issues, but I don't know what the answer is, but I'm supporting, I think we should comply because we need housing desperately. I believe my opinion is it's just too much for this town. We don't have the land. We don't have the infrastructure, but we'll do the best.
Right. Well,
and it's all in
that's
your ballpark, planning
A
board.
little wiggle room would be nice.
Yeah, a little wiggle room would be appreciated.
Just a little wiggle room.
Yeah, they just.
I mean, we have to be realistic that there's a sizable contingent in town that is going to vote no and say we should just litigate against this. So
yeah, let's just blow some more money.
My hope is to appeal to, you know, we're going to have to find like a compromise between, you know, the folks that really want to embrace this and look at the housing crisis, look at the need for housing stock, and say, you know, this is critical that we, you know, go in this with the intent of creating affordable housing. And there's going to be that side, and there's going to be the people that say, no way, you know, this is wrong. This is being foisted on us. I'm going to fight this. So the compromise is we are better off controlling what we can control and mitigating the impact. And
I agree.
Not ending up in the hands of a developer, no offense, Mr. Mans, who may sue us to get their project approved through the courts. We don't want to go that route.
No.
Agree, completely agree.
The good thing is the planning board doesn't have anything else going besides this right now, right, Jess?
Right. Of course. Never
do
dull
anything.
moment.
Okay, anything else on the MBTA subject, gentlemen? Okay, moving right along, the Atwood property. I really don't know where this is going. Al has kind of taken it off of our plates and has been kind of handling it. My understanding is the DPW director, the new gentleman, Mr. Condiff, I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name, did a soil test. I asked Al to send us the soil test, which I did forward to all of you. Did anybody have a chance to read that?
I did.
Basically, the land does have some contamination. And that is going to have to be cleaned up. So I'm not really sure what that entails and who, I know PW at that point, but it's out of our hands. So I think, and this is my thought, we probably need to take a step back from this and see what happens with cleaning that up, or whatever has to be done to that land. It's kind of out of our hands at this point. Al's been handling it. So does anybody have anything else? You read the report. Do you have any comments on that? Or do you want to discuss any part of that report?
I had a question. I mean, they found contamination, but do you have to clean it up no matter what? Or is it you only have to clean it up if you want to build something there? Do we know?
I believe if you read the report, my understanding is that has to be cleaned up.
Or capped.
it had, I don't know if they have to remove all of that soil, but they went down as far as what, 2 feet? How far did they go down? Hang on, I have it right here. So they did additional samples and at the deeper depths, as the highest concentrations were found in the 12 to 24 inch range, which means just 2 feet down. So there weren't any PCBs. But they did find, lead, samples of TCLP lead. They're gonna have to return to retest some of the soils. I mean, do you guys have that in front of you? The standard protocol when you get very high concentrations of a contaminant in soil on a site, it's considered hazardous waste under the RCRA standard. Once they get the TCLP data back from the lab, they'll send over a letter with the site plan and data for your use. Again, this is all DPW. We don't have to notify the DP. Let's see, hang on. They don't have to notify the Mass DEP because it's not a high level of concentration of whatever the contaminant is. This is a scientific thing to me, so again, this is completely out of our purview. This is a DPW issue. Right now, we're just removed from the Atwood property because there's nothing that can happen right there, right now. That has to be cleaned up, and whatever the DPW is doing on that, that's not what we're not involved in that. We won't be involved in that. So, I don't know what to tell you about the Atwood property at this point. I think we're just at a standstill. And I don't know how long that's going to take, and I don't know what they're going to do. Again, Al has been dealing with that with the DPW director, and we're out of the loop on it. Any thoughts, comments?
Nothing we can do about wait.
Right,
Right.
exactly. There's really nothing we can do. We're not, we're just,
Look for other properties.
we just have to play the waiting game like everyone else at this point. And I know we have, I believe, 2 of the neighbors that are in the audience, Jan Sturgeon and Sarah Warden. So, and they're not raising their hands. Do you guys have any comments or concerns or questions? I don't know what we can answer at this point because we weren't involved with the soil test. Anybody see any hands up? I do not. Okay. So that's it on the Atwood property. At this point, we're just at a standstill. As soon as I hear anything, Al's not here tonight, so that's all I have. Okay, update on the 61A Northborough Road parcels. We sent an email to the select board meeting, and Sam is in the audience. The select board was going to just let the property go. And Lisa Braccio got on and just made a couple of comments, and they decided that they would send a letter with the attorney that it wasn't a complete offer or something was wrong with the offer. And again, I don't know the details on that. But we sent an email to the select board, as did the planning board, expressing our interest in pursuing the properties. I guess there was a sales agreement that some solar company wanted to put solar over there, and solar is not allowed in Res A, so that cannot happen. So that would not be a feasible option for the property owner. So what I'd like to do, what I'm thinking is, when we wanted to discuss a property like 21 Highland Street, we reached out to all the other stakeholders and we held a joint group meeting where we all got together and gave our thoughts and ideas and expressed our interest. I think what we need to do is find a path forward with all the stakeholders, meaning open space, recreation, the planning board, us, maybe trails. I don't know who else would be interested. I thought maybe historic, but it's not really a historic issue. But they may want to be involved because they may have ideas of what we could do. Even if we were to try to purchase one of the two parcels, so the two parcels is 10.76 acres, and the other one I believe is 8.76 acres. Even if we were to get one of the smaller lots and took half of it, the opportunity for housing there would be enormous. So my opinion is, I would like us to move forward and try to do a joint meeting with the different groups that I'm sure would be very interested in trying to pull us together and find a path forward.
And what's the cost?
There is no cost right now. So
There's no offer to match that.
Yeah, it was kind of all over the place. I did send that to you. Let me see, I have that right here.
I'm sorry. I know you did in,
But I think that was part of the problem, was that they didn't just lay out a cost. It was like the scale, and it was cost per acre, and there was a time attached to it, and the cost went up as time went on. So I think that was part of the reason they didn't consider it a bona fide offer. So I
That's
guess,
the word, bona fide offer. You're right. Sorry, Paul. Yep, that was it. Yeah, it was effective date to 12 months is 240,000 an acre. Then it goes up to 250 an acre, and then it goes up. So it was like pay. It looked almost like a pay over time kind of a setup, but there was nothing specific. And there are two separate parcels. There's a road that separates them. So I would like us to pursue at least one of those parcels, try to figure out a way to do this and find a path forward with all of the groups and have us all get together and try to move this forward. We desperately need housing in this town, and this is a fabulous opportunity for us to move forward with this. So do you guys have any thoughts on that? I'm moving forward with maybe trying to hold a meeting with everyone like we did on 21 Highland.
Yeah, certainly with Open Space Commission, that might be a good way to start, because I know that they have an interest in this, and
Yes.
coming, kind of teaming up with them, and then doing some sort of joint idea to the select board might be our best bet.
Agree.
yeah, that sounds good. I think there was a question too. I remember the last meeting, Tom had a question from a legal perspective as to, he thought maybe it was a bona fide offer. And that if the selectmen say, no, it's not, but, the seller and the buyer disagree, then what happens then, And I don't know if we've answered that question.
Jay Tellerman, our town council, is taking care of that. Again, I don't have any information on that. We have Sam. Sam, can you speak to that for us if I bring you on?
Yeah,
Sam?
Dorian, you're right. The town council has said that it's not a bona fide offer. It
Okay.
actually looked bona fide to me. It's fairly specific. I'm not a lawyer, but there was an offer to purchase at escalating prices. And the current pitch is you buy the whole property, not the separate lots. And so, again, that seemed fairly specific to me, but I defer to town council on it. So I think the result was that the select board sent a letter, or is going to send a letter to the property owner saying that's not a bona fide offer, and they need to try again if they want to, and we'll see what happens. I think there are good uses there. The challenge I see is, how do you pay for it? I mean, we don't have a lot of money for that kind of stuff now, unfortunately. So that's tough. And if they are interested in splitting pieces off, then it gets a lot more interesting to us in terms of buying an acre or 2 or 3 or 5 or something there, as opposed to all 17 or whatever is there. So I guess TBD, and see what they respond to.
Can they split those lots themselves, Sam, or do you have to buy like one of them's 10 point whatever and the other one's just under like 11 and 9 acres, say?
The way the offer is currently written, if you read the purchase and sale agreement they have, it defines the property, capital P, as both lots. So my read is that they put it all together. But now the seller doesn't have to do that forever. If the prospective buyer somehow backs out of the deal or doesn't exercise the option or whatever, then they can repackage it however they want, I would think.
Well, it was a solar company that was interested in it, correct?
Right, yeah. So I'm confused by that as well. I don't know how they plan to do that, but
Well, they can't. They're not allowed to do it. They're not allowed to build in
well, I've learned to say never say can't or won't or will whatever, but it looks unlikely. It looks unlikely.
We want the property, so no. Okay.
So.
Okay,
Can I ask a
thanks.
question? So Sam, you know, the seller has to come back to us in some way, shape, or form, right? Because the town has right of first refusal. Is that right?
Yeah, there's Paul, I'm not sure exactly how the timing works because once they present us a bona fide offer, then we've got something like 120 days to exercise our right of first refusal. But that clock doesn't start if it's not a bona fide offer, and so we've said we don't believe it's a bona fide offer. So they could say, "Oops, we'll do it again and make it a bona fide offer," or they could say, "We don't agree with you. We think it is," and then we argue about it, I guess. So not clear to me what the next step is after they get that letter.
Okay. Somebody had mentioned they got 30 days to come back with a bona fide offer, if in fact they agree that it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Paul. I defer to town council on the timing. So.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions for Sam? Okay, Sam, you're off the hook.
I don't have any answers. That's good. So.
That's okay. We appreciate you joining. Thank you
Perfectly
so much.
matched.
Thanks,
So,
Sam.
sure. Good night.
Good night, thanks. Okay, so that's where we're at there. Again, it's we're kind of on a holding pattern to see if they come back with to the town with change the offer or make it more of a bona fide offer that town council agrees with. So we're on a holding pattern for this property as well. Any other comments on that? I mean, do you guys want to pursue this? Do you think this is a good idea?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so do you want to see if we can maybe join open space at one of their meetings? I think they have a really hard time getting everybody together. So, I mean, I can send an email off to Freddie and see if we can try to work something out. Okay, I'll do that next. Do you want to include anybody else, recreation or planning board, or do you want to just start with open space? I don't want to dictate the direction we're going. I need you guys to kind of give me some feedback on what you're thinking. John, you're muted. John, you're muted.
I'd absolutely reach out to rec. You know, they might have some money that could go towards something. The more you can get involved, open space, trails, conservation, anybody.
Is everybody okay with that?
Okay with me.
Okay.
The more troops you can rally around it, the better.
I agree. I think there's, if open space, you definitely would like to have open space there. I'm a firm believer in saving land for the wildlife. So I will send an email out to the chairs of both those committees, as well as, oh my goodness, Mimi for planning, just so they know what we're gonna do.
Be nice to see the town has some sort of control over that property. What
Yeah,
goes there.
I mean, planning board I would think planning board should be involved in this too, because they're gonna have more control than we do. We don't have a lot of control over anything, and planning board really understands.
Yeah, this is on every agenda of our meetings,
Okay,
except for the ones that are specifically MBTA communities working sessions. The right of first refusal, Northborough Road is on every single planning board agenda.
so maybe what we should do is see if I'll reach out to Mimi and try to do a joint meeting on the planning board schedule, grab one of their nights where we can all join with them and see if we can get open space and recreation to do the same thing. I'll reach out to all the chairs and let's see what we can come up with for dates. So Jesse, would you mind sending me the planning board dates going forward?
Sure.
And I'll send those out to the other chairs and we'll see if we can come up with a date that'll work for all of us to join you guys.
You got it.
Okay, that's great. Okay. I think that's all I had for tonight. Next meeting, we do not have a next meeting set up. Okay. Let's try to now. Today is. So. Let's do a 10, if we join the planning board and it's before our meeting, we can not do our meeting unless you guys want to go ahead and go forward with it. Otherwise, we're looking at April 11th for the next one. Does that work for everyone?
Works for me.
Yes?
Yes.
May work.
Looks good. Yep.
Okay, so I'll set our next meeting up for April 11th. In the meantime, I'll send the letter out to the other board members and I'll just keep you guys apprised of what's going on with that. Is that okay?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Sounds
Did
good.
anybody, I don't see any hands up from any of the attendees. So I think we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, this is a roll call vote. Jesse,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and Dorian is aye. Good night, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us and
Everybody.
we'll see you soon.
Good
Good
night.
night. Thank you.
Bye.